Title: I tried to cheat the system and the system won. My name's David. I thought I was being clever until HMRC sent me that letter. It came in a plain brown envelope, the kind that doesn't look like trouble until you open it. I remember holding it in my hand, thinking maybe it was just another bank statement or a council update. But inside was a short letter with a long impact. We are conducting a compliance check on your recent self-assessment tax return. My stomach dropped. I'm a freelance photographer, mostly part-time. I do Airbnb listings, small business shoots, birthdays, that sort of thing. It started as weekend money, nothing massive. I figured, it's under the radar. No one's chasing small-time work, right? So when tax season came around, I did what I thought was smart, declared just enough to look legit, and left out a few casual gigs. I even padded some expenses. A few meals, a new lens, petrol, little things. It felt harmless, like bending the rules, not breaking them. I filed my return, hit submit, and forgot about it. But that envelope reminded me, HMRC doesn't forget. And they don't play guessing games. That was the moment I realized I wasn't outsmarting the system. I was walking straight into it. It all started as a weekend thing. I was working full-time in retail, but I had a decent camera from uni and a good eye. A mate asked me to shoot his engagement party. I did it for free. People loved the pictures. A week later, someone else reached out. How much do you charge? I didn't have an answer, so I made one up. £80 for the session. They said yes. That one job turned into another, then another. Soon, I was doing Airbnb listings for local hosts, birthday shoots, even a few weddings. It was mostly cash in hand. Easy, no contracts. Just messages, photos, money in the bank or my pocket. I wasn't making loads. Maybe £400 to £600 a month, depending on the season. But to me, that felt like a bonus. I didn't register as self-employed, didn't set up a separate bank account, didn't keep receipts. I told myself it was just a side hustle, nothing serious. Every time I saw posts online about self-assessment deadlines, I scrolled past them. Every time I heard people mention taxes, I thought, that's for people running actual businesses. One of my mates, who sold stuff on eBay, once said, HMRC doesn't chase small fish. Another said, if you don't make over 10K, it's not even taxable. None of us really knew, but we said it with confidence, so I kept going. Quietly. No paperwork, no record keeping, just cash gigs and contactless transfers. And the longer I got away with it, the more I convinced myself I was doing nothing wrong. I mean, I wasn't scamming anyone. I delivered every photo. I worked hard. Why should I have to share a cut with the government for work I built myself? That was the mindset. It wasn't even greed, it was naive defiance. As long as I keep it quiet, what's the harm? That phrase lived in my head every time I debated whether or not to register with HMRC. And for a while, nothing happened. No warnings, no phone calls, no red flags. I thought I was invisible. But looking back now, I wasn't being clever. I was just gambling with ignorance and the odds were never in my favor. Eventually, I knew I had to do something about taxes. People online were starting to talk about the self-assessment deadline, and I thought, fine, I'll file, just enough to keep things quiet. So I sat at my laptop one evening in January and opened the HMRC website. I'd made roughly £700–800 that year from freelance gigs. But declaring all of that felt risky. I wasn't ready to explain where every pound came from, or worse, pay tax on it. So I declared 100. Enough to look real, not enough to raise eyebrows at least. That's what I told myself. Then came expenses. Now, I had real expenses, me camera, some software, but instead of listing just those, I got creative. I added meals, I added petrol from a trip to Blackpool that had nothing to do with work. I threw in some receipts for clothes I wore to a wedding shoot, 120 on a blazer I'd already planned to return. I didn't. And then, just to make it look polished, I claimed a home office. I lived in a tiny studio flat, but I measured the corner where my laptop sat and said that 20% of my rent, electricity, and internet should count as business use. It sounded smart. It felt clever. I remember sitting there, double-checking the figures and thinking, there's no way they're going to notice. This is peanuts. So I submitted it. Tax return. Done. Box checked. Peace of mind for a while. I felt smug, to be honest. Like I'd cracked a secret code. Everyone else was overpaying. I was getting ahead. I even used some of that untouched income to treat myself. A dinner out, a new pair of trainers, and a streaming subscription I didn't need. Life carried on. Until one Tuesday morning in May, I came home from a shoot, checked my post, and saw that brown envelope. No logo on the outside, no warning, just my name in bold and a cold sense of dread creeping up my spine. Inside was a letter from HMRC. We are conducting a compliance check on your self-assessment tax return. Please provide supporting documentation for the following items. They listed everything: my declared income, claimed expenses, home office setup. My stomach turned, because suddenly, all the little tweaks didn't feel clever anymore. They felt like a trap I'd set for myself and just stepped in. The moment I read the letter, panic hit like a punch to the chest. It was real. This wasn't spam or a warning, it was an official compliance check. I'd been flagged by HMRC's system, likely by an algorithm trained to spot inconsistent filings. And clearly, mine raised a few red flags. I sat at my desk, staring at the list they wanted me to explain. Income sources, expense breakdowns, proof of business use for my flat. I spent the next 3 hours digging through old receipts, bank statements, WhatsApp messages from clients, anything that looked like proof. But the problem wasn't just that I had leaded, it was that I hadn't documented anything properly. I'd deleted old client chats, paid in cash more than once, had no receipts for the clothes I claimed. The home office was barely a corner of my room. The more I reread the letter, the worse it got. The £400 I thought I saved by underreporting and overclaiming could now cost double that. I called HMRC the next morning. I was on hold for 48 minutes before someone picked up. The woman on the line was calm but firm. I tried to explain, tried to soften it. I was confused. I'm new to freelancing. I didn't realize. She didn't judge, but she didn't make it easy either. They gave me a deadline to respond with full documentation, amend the return and accept the consequences. I cracked. I confessed everything. Admitted to the inflated claims. Admitted I left income out. They recalculated what I actually owed plus interest. Then came the fine, £600 for careless inaccuracy. It hurt. Bad. I had to take out part of my emergency savings to cover it. But oddly enough, once it was paid, I felt relief. Because the waiting, the lying, the fear, it was all heavier than the debt. That letter didn't just catch me, it woke me up. After the fine, I could have spiraled, blamed the system, sworn off freelancing, told myself I'd been robbed. But deep down, I knew I wasn't the victim. I'd done this to myself. So, I decided to learn properly, not out of fear, but out of respect for the life I was trying to build. The first thing I did was search YouTube for freelancer TaxMistakes UK. Within minutes, I found creators, accountants, even ex-employees explaining exactly where people like me go wrong. I watched one video, then another. Then I bought a £19 online course that walked me through everything. What counts as allowable expenses, how to register for self-assessment, what to keep as records, what triggers a compliance check. I sat there, jaw clenched, realizing just how easy some of this could have been if I'd simply looked sooner. The irony? I had legitimate expenses I never even claimed. My editing software subscription, the tripod I bought, medium mileage, for shoots where I use my own car, printer ink and paper for client contracts. But I was too busy trying to be clever faking deductions I couldn't prove while leaving real, legal ones untouched. I opened my old spreadsheet and started reworking the numbers. If I had filed honestly, with proper documentation, and claimed what I was entitled to, my actual tax bill would have been lower than the one I lied to avoid. That hit hard. It wasn't just a mistake, it was an own goal. I thought cheating would make things simpler, but it made things more complicated and far more expensive. There's a confidence that comes with knowledge. Once I understood the system, I stopped fearing it. I started keeping proper digital records. I made folders for receipts. I logged every shoot, every client, every expense. Now, when January comes around, I don't panic, so I just pull up my files. And that feeling, it's not just relief, it's respect. For myself, for my business, for the rules that exist not to punish me, but to guide me. If I'd just been honest and smart from the start, I'd have saved money, avoided stress, and slept better at night. But sometimes, the only way forward is through the wreckage of your own shortcuts. That's how you learn. After the fine, I knew I had to stop guessing. If I wanted to keep freelancing, I had to do it right. No shortcuts, no panic. First step, I registered as self-employed on the HMRC website. The process I'd avoided for a year took less than 20 minutes. A week later, my UTR arrived. Just like that, I was official. Next, I downloaded a free freelancer app to track income and expenses. Every time I got paid, I logged it. Every camera, battery, travel receipt, and bit of software, I tracked it too. It became part of the routine. But the game changer? I booked a 1-hour session with a tax advisor, 60 well spent. In that hour, I learned I could legally claim travel costs to shoots, a portion of my phone bill, software subscriptions, equipment depreciation, all legal, all trackable. I realized the system wasn't built to punish, it was built for people who do it right. Within a month, I had structure, a spreadsheet, a system, and a calmer mind. Tax season no longer scared me. I still wasn't making a fortune, but now every pound felt legitimate. Most of all, I trusted myself again. Not because I had all the answers, but because I'd stopped hiding. Tax wasn't a trap anymore. It was just part of being an adult who works for himself. Funny, really. I spent a year trying to cheat the system and lived in fear. Now I follow the rules and feel free. I thought cheating the system made me clever. Skipping steps, hiding income, fudging expenses. But in the end, the system cost me more than honesty ever would. What I learned is simple. Legal tax literacy is real power. You don't need to lie, you just need to learn the rules. Paying less tax legally is not only possible, it's safer, smarter, and more sustainable. I lost money, peace of mind, and time trying to cut corners. Now I know better. Because cheating the tax system isn't smart, it's just ignorance with interest. Moral lesson. Trying to cheat tax is short-sighted. Smart, legal planning protects your money, your peace, and your future. Social CTA. Follow for more real money lessons they never teach in school. Subscribe if tax ever confused or scared you.